Hi everyone, Sean Humphreys here. Welcome to this edition of the Take Charge of Change podcast. In this podcast, we're going to talk about the 10 things that confident people won't ever do. Well, I came across an article that was written by Travis Bradberry on the 10 things confident people won't ever do. I thought it was a great summary of some really good principles around cultivating confidence that would apply to all of us. Doesn't matter where we are in our entrepreneurial or business journey or working within organizations. Before I get into the article, though, I want to talk about a story, from my own life. Many years ago, I went through the Strategic Coach program, which is a kind of a mentorship coaching program for entrepreneurs and business people. Great program. And one of the modules covered off in that program is the absolute imperative, importance of protecting and cultivating confidence. It's one of those things where you can be very confident, achieve great things, be very capable in the areas that you work in, but life has a way of throwing curveballs at us and putting challenges in our life. And so over time, what happens for a lot of people is that very slowly but consistently, their confidence gets chipped away. And we have to be very intentional in fostering confidence in our lives professionally because that's a critical component to professional success. So in the program, they talked about some very simple things. One strategy was to simply, at the end of the day, at the end of the week, take a look at all the things that went well. We naturally default to the things that don't go well, but the encouragement was to look at the things that went well, why did they go well, and how can you replicate those things in your professional and personal life. The other thing was to look at the things that didn't go well, and just don't dwell and think through and wallow in a lack of success or challenges. Take a look at those things, find out what the lessons are embedded in them. What can you do to make sure they don't happen again? What can you learn from those experiences that were negative? The other thing that they talked about was, when we set goals and ambitions for the future, we cast a vision for the future. And looking at the future and envisioning it is very powerful. It creates energy and motivation, and we sort of begin moving towards those visions or goals of the future, and we have specific action steps to get us there. But it's important that we understand that our future vision is like the horizon. You never actually get to the horizon. It's always something you're moving towards, but you never get to that idealized notion of your future. It's a vision that will, in the final analysis, manifest itself in a way that's different from your ultimate vision. And so the vision's important because it sets that tone, the motivation, the energy to move in the right direction. But at the same time you're moving towards your vision, you need to also look back at the past and go, okay, where was I 6 months ago, a year ago, 5 years ago, and where I am today? Because for most people, if they're consistently working towards that vision, as they look back, they're going to go, I've made amazing progress. And that is a great confidence booster. That's how you can sort of, again, create motivation and not become dissatisfied that you're not hitting your vision. For those people that are always looking at their vision and comparing their current reality to that future vision they have, they'll be perpetually unhappy and anxious, and again, their confidence will be eroded. But if that same person also looks back at the past, they can get great confidence from that because they've probably moved in a positive way in many different areas. So again, just a couple of little tips around cultivating confidence. So in the article, Bradberry talks about various things. One of the things he talks about is just kind of fighting the little voices in our heads that can erode confidence. There was a quote by Vincent van Gogh: "If you hear a voice within you say you cannot paint, then by all means paint, and that voice will be silenced." And a lot of things we do in life, true confidence is not a swagger of the ego. It's just basically moving forward in a quiet way towards your goals and not allowing those voices of uncertainty and anxiety and a lack of confidence that keeps you from pursuing those objectives. So he goes on to talk about the qualities. So one quality is confident people just don't make excuses. They don't blame their lack of success on the weather and on, if they arrive late for a meeting, on the traffic conditions. Confident people basically take personal responsibility for the results that they deliver, and they believe that they control their lives and they need to execute on certain things to make sure that those goals are accomplished. So number one, they don't make excuses. The next thing is they're not quitters. They don't quit. So confident people will keep knocking at the door towards their goals. Now, in saying that, they're smart about it. And so they understand that they may have to be a little bit nuanced in that, maybe change their approach, learn from a lack of success, and always be trying new ideas and strategies. So they're not going to keep knocking their head against something forever. And so there's this notion of not being a quitter, but also not being a quitter in a smart way. And so, confident people will look for other ideas. They won't be locked into one modality, one approach. They're open to ideas, and they see failures as ways of learning. Next, they don't wait for permission to act. I think a great saying, I think I apply it maybe too much in some ways, but it's easier to say you're sorry than ask for permission. In other words, don't wait for someone, like, don't say to yourself, well, can I do this or should I do this? Why not say, why wouldn't I do this? In other words, within the context, if you're in an organization, there's certain parameters, but I think most managers, organizational leaders are just dying for people to take initiative, to come up with ideas. That's a huge source of encouragement, both for your business partners and people in your organization, that you're actually taking personal responsibility and just acting and seeing if you can make a difference. They don't seek attention. In other words, confident people do not rely on extrinsic motivation. They rely on intrinsic motivation to drive them forward. They're not looking for pats on the back. They're not looking for awards and accolades. They just move forward because internally these are important goals and objectives that they set for themselves. The other thing is they don't need constant praise. In other words, it's part of the previous point, is they're not looking for bravos, and they're not dependent on other people's approval to move forward. In fact, confident people are often doing things that are outside the mainstream, that may not be the popular way of going about things. It may be a creative way, out of the box way of thinking, and they may be going against the flow. And to make real change in organizations and progress, sometimes professionally, you need to be out of step with the herd. And that means you're not going to get a lot of praise initially, and so you need to be okay with that. They don't put things off. So confident people are not procrastinators. They understand that they need to be confident and move forward and not be afraid of failure. That failure is part of success, it's part of learning, and they know that being in motion, right, creating that momentum, is a really important piece of professional success, and it breeds confidence. You find out that, hey, it's amazing how much I can do here, that I don't have to rely on listening to those voices that keep me from doing the things I want to do. I'll just begin moving forward and learn as I go and take some chances. They don't pass judgment. I think part of being confident is not, building your own ego at the expense of other people. Putting people down, taking them down a notch, comparing yourself to others. Confident people just don't do that generally. They'll just move forward, and they'll be encouragers. So look how they can collaborate with people. They'll have a mantra that, how can I do things so that the people working with me are actually better for having that experience? How can I be an encouragement, a mentor to other people? At the same time, they don't avoid conflict. In other words, they understand that conflict avoidance at all costs is not a productive thing. They understand that if people are walking on eggshells, or there's that big white elephant in the room, nobody's talking about it, at some point uncomfortable conversations and sometimes unpleasant decisions have to be made to move forward. Now, you can do that in a way that's still affirming to people, maybe tough, but they have the emotional intelligence. The reflection is part of what they do. They understand how to approach things in a way that allows the focusing on those tough decisions and tough conversations, but then to move forward and really unlock that creative power and energy that needs to be there to achieve their goals. They don't let a lack of resources to get in their way. And so again, it'd be great to have all the staff you need and all the resources you need, but sometimes you need to be a little bit like MacGyver. Look for ways you can move forward and just get the momentum going, and then sometimes the support will come in after the fact. And then lastly, don't get too comfortable. I think we all know this in business and other organizations that you might be part of. You just can't be complacent. The world is changing so much, and you always have to be on top of your game. Yes, it takes energy. Yes, it's hard, but confident people understand that they can't get comfortable. They need to be always looking ahead and looking at today's environment and talking about and thinking through and acting. And what do we need to do to become relevant in the future based on these changes that are coming into my industry? What do we need to do to kind of push the envelope to make me uncomfortable to learn new skills, to have new experiences, to be effective both professionally and personally. Well, I hope you enjoyed those reflections. If you lead people, if you're an organizational leader and you're concerned about building professional resilience and change hardiness, vitality and energy in your staff, and productivity, then reach out to us. We'd love to start a conversation about how we can craft specific programs for your organization to help your people to be more successful professionally and to be happier personally. So we wish you all the best in your entrepreneurial and professional journey, and we look forward to potentially having a future conversation. You take care. Bye-bye.